be here.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, let's just do it. Normally we do the weird little introduction, but we've had you on the podcast before.
Yeah,
Let's talk about what we just said, right?
yeah,
It's been almost 2 years since we last talked. You'd signed with Blue Grape, you had dropped an EP, the world was starting to move forward for you, and
yeah,
now here you are 2 years later, or a year and a half, whatever it's been. Tours have been happening, life seems
yeah,
to be getting much better and faster for you.
yeah.
What have you noticed since our last chat?
Um, yeah, just a lot more touring, obviously. Yeah, farther expectations than I ever could have expected, I think. It's
Yeah,
been awesome. It's been very cool to see people connecting with the music and people listening in general. Like I always said, like I kind of just write music. It all started just writing songs for my friends and my family. So to have complete strangers from anywhere in the world, reach out or come to see us and talk to me about like what these songs have meant for them has been a very insane cosmic experience for me. So it's
yeah.
been very, very cool.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because like it feels like as we're getting closer to this album, the universe works in mysterious ways, right? Like
Yeah.
it seems like I'm catching you or people using a lot more of your TikTok sounds and stuff like that. And it's
Yeah.
it's so crazy because it's like that song's a year and a half, almost 2 years old at this point,
Yeah.
and
Especially,
now
yeah.
people are like, "Hey, I fuck with this. This is awesome." Like,
Yeah.
what's it been like to see that where people are like discovering you and going, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
really cool. I can,
Yeah.
do this."
Yeah. That's been very, very cool. It's been, I don't know. It's been insane, I guess, how the internet works and how TikTok works and stuff. Because I feel like growing up, the music scene I grew up in, it was just like play as many shows as you can with all your friends and like see what happens. And now the world is so, I feel like the music scene is so different, I guess, where I've discovered even myself, like some of my favorite new bands I've discovered
Mm-hmm.
just like from TikTok or Instagram or just like Spotify, like feeding it to me. And I'm like, holy shit. And I like never would have found that any other way. And I think that is very, very cool. And it's very cool for me as someone who just like kind of writes songs, like for anyone, that it is reaching like audiences and people that I never in my entire life would have gotten to connect or like reach
Yeah.
out to or talk to, and that's been like the coolest experience I'd say for me overall is just like people listening,
Yeah.
anywhere, anyway. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I'll date myself. I'm 41 years old,
Yeah.
obviously a little older than you, but like to your point about like the music scene evolving, obviously we've had digital streaming and stuff like that for a
Yeah.
while, but it definitely feels like, and maybe this is what you were, going towards, it feels like the music scene is much more digital now than it ever has been. I
Yeah.
remember going to church basements and VFW halls and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff, and catching really cool shows. And to your point, like now it's like, but I can scroll on TikTok for 10 minutes and find somebody new.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's crazy to me. And
Yeah.
it's good and bad. I feel like, a lot of it eliminates a certain aspect of the scene, but it
Yeah.
engages in a whole new one. I think it makes it way more accessible to people that might not have the means or the, I don't know, ability to go find that music in like an organic way. And I think that
Yeah.
is incredible. I think that is very, very cool.
Yeah. Especially with like the worldwide exposure, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but I'm sure if you look at your Spotify stats or even your TikTok stats, like
Yeah.
it's not just Jersey, it's not just the
Yeah.
US, it's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. And that is something that is also like I can't even like comprehend that, like where I'm like, oh my God, there's 3,000 people in Australia listening. It's like,
Right.
who are you people, but like
Yeah.
in the coolest way. It's like something I never thought was even in the realm of possibility when I first started writing music.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's obviously a big change. And to your point, like some of it's for the better, some of it isn't. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that is for the better, where, it's, um, like you said, more accessible. And there's this kind of, I don't know, it feels like a different hunger to be the first friend in the group now, to be like, hey, I found this thing, you should check it
Yeah,
out.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that's another really cool thing is like, yeah, like I'll find music and then I bring it to my friends. I'm like, listen to this, and it's always cool when it's like someone who has like there's like 100 monthly listeners, or something like
Yeah.
that, where I'm like, that's amazing. Like you feel like you snuck into like this secret early group of people. Like when I first put my music on Spotify, it was just acoustic songs, and there was like 20 monthly listeners, and I knew all 20 of those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I knew it was my parents, my friends, like so it's so cool like to find a band that is in another local scene from like I don't know, like Seattle, where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this band has like 300 listeners and this is the best music I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like stuff
Yeah.
like that has always been insane to me. And it's very cool to be, I don't know, to do that and find that and be a part of that. And yeah, the whole exchange is very cosmically crazy to me, but I love it.
Yeah. And I think, it's definitely a unique situation, but I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. There's nothing that beats live shows, right? Like,
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
cool as that is to be on TikTok and be found and have people stitch your music, like being in a room with even 50 people that are
Yeah.
singing your songs has to
Yeah.
be the moment, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about. I think the last time I saw you live was, it was definitely in Indianapolis, and I think you were on the road with Arm's Length.
Cool.
So, who else was on that show? Riley and Prince
Riley and
Hyena.
yeah, Prince Daddy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very
yeah.
cool.
So talk about that. Like, that was one of the pretty early tours for you to get out and really get around.
Yeah.
What was it like traveling with someone like Arm's Length and Riley, who's having a moment now, especially
Yeah.
as well?
Amazing. All these bands that we've gone to tour with and play with. It's funny, Arm's Length, their bass player Ben, I actually grew up playing shows with Ben, and that's so it's very crazy to have that moment together where we're both on like a tour,
Yeah.
not just playing like in Ben's like sunroom. He used to throw shows
Right.
in his house, and like so it's like crazy to be like, oh, now we're like doing it, to
Yeah.
some degree. So that was a very special moment for us because of that, where it's like we grew up like the first show I ever played with Ben was my first ever show as Bike Roots, and I was like 16 or 17. So it's
Yeah.
very crazy to be still doing it all these years later and doing it on a scale that is, not local anymore, I guess. And
Right.
so I feel like everyone in my band that we play with, we're all very uh lucky because a lot of the tours we've done are with bands that like I've grown up listening to. And like I would go to that tour even if I wasn't
Right.
on it. So it's like to be able to go every night and like play a show and then go stand in the crowd and get to like watch is that's been one of the coolest things for me because I grew up going to shows. I would go to like 4 shows a week. So like to be able to like go to shows while playing a show, like that is a very cool experience for me in general.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the cool thing was, with that show in specific, looking back, the people that you're touring with, their fan bases and things like that are so welcoming of new sounds and new artists that, like,
Yeah,
if I'm not crazy, and I don't think I am, on that show, like, it was pretty well packed out even when you were taking stage as the
yeah,
opener, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
this is cool, people are showing up early and
yeah,
checking out openers.
yeah. And I
What's that
think
like to feel that vibe?
that is always awesome. And I think that is kind of a nod to the scene that like has been conjured and that we've created, as a scene. Uh, is that a lot of the openers are like these up and coming bands that everyone's kind of excited about. And I remember when I first started going to shows, I would obviously it would be like a headlining show, or it'd be like, I'd go to see like the Wonder Years or someone like
Right.
that, and I would see the bill and I'd see the three openers, and if it was like openers that I didn't know, I had to learn their set so that when they went on, I'd have a good time for all four sets. I'd know all the words to all the songs, and I think that is something that has always been like how I view shows, and I think that's how a lot of people view shows. Is it's like, oh, if I'm going to see Arm's Length, I'm going to want to have fun for the opening three bands, whether I know
Yeah.
them or not. And like, I feel like people do their homework when they go to shows like this, and they want to see the opener and they want to find that that new music. And that's how like I feel like a lot of the bands in the scene get new fans or new uh like followers, I think, is
Yeah.
because they do a tour and no one knows them, but we all want to know the openers. So it's like I
Right.
feel like it's a very cool, like I said, like exchange that happens. And so yeah, that's always been cool to me because growing up when I was like 17, 16, like I would go to shows and I'd learn the opener set and then I'd be like, oh, that's my new favorite band. Like that's crazy. And then I'd go see
Yeah.
them when they did their headlining tour like 4 years later. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's weird to be on the receiving end, I guess, now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I think, obviously that comes with building, right? Like
Yeah.
that's part of the process, and obviously you love this process and building and everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned the Wonder Years. I can remember, I have no idea what year it was, but I remember seeing them in a fucking church basement in
Yeah.
Indianapolis, and it was
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
75 people tops. It was a
Yeah.
million degrees. Like
Yeah.
it was one of the funnest show. It was like when I say church basement, I'm talking I'm only 5'11". If I raised my hand, I was touching the fucking
Yeah.
ceiling of this
Yeah.
basement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And like to see where they've gone now, and that I think that's the beauty of, even though the scene has shifted to the digital age,
Yeah.
to your point, catching people when they're at like 100 monthly listeners, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm going to catch them at the smallest venue we have available.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, it's like, oh, they're doing headlining shit. They're
Yeah.
starting to do their own thing,
Yeah.
which is I feel like kind of how you and I are with your project.
Yeah.
I caught on pretty early, and now here we are, a year and a half, almost 2 years later, going, oh, he's got an album coming out. He's getting
Yeah.
ready to hit the road. Like this is really cool. So,
Yeah.
speaking of the album, let's dive into that a little bit. Talk
Yeah.
about this new collection of songs, this continuation of the journey, because I think that's the important thing that sometimes gets lost, right? A lot of people think EPs are the testing ground, if you will, and then it's an album, so he's going to shift sounds to only what worked. I don't think that's the case with you. I think your mindset is very much a, my album is going to be who I am,
Yeah.
and kind of, if you fuck with it, great. If not, that's fine too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the EP was kind of like the proving ground of what I could do and what like my producer and I could do sonically on like a Bike Roots project. Because like I said, Bike Roots started out with just me and an acoustic guitar. And
Right.
then the first record that was like full band, it was kind of just me and an acoustic guitar with drums and bass behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the EP was kind of where we were like, okay, let's expand on that. Let's see what kind of sounds we can like introduce, I guess, into Bike Roots and see if it still feels like what I always wanted Bike Roots to feel like. And it did. And I think it taught me that like Bike Roots truly could sound sonically like anything as long as it's coming from me and like what I want to be doing, what I believe in. I think sonically, Bike Roots could be anything. It could be a death metal project, and as long as
Right.
I'm still like the one screaming on it, I feel like it would still feel like Bike Roots to me, which is something that we learned in this album process and this writing process, which is really special to me. But yeah, I think this record is kind of the culmination of all those previous albums and EPs and whatnot, and really fine tuning like what I can do and what we can do sonically and sound wise, and make it feel like everything Bike Roots was always supposed to feel like, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had a conversation with Emin of Games We Play the other
Cool.
day, and he
Yeah,
talked about he feels like his next project or next album is very much something that 15-year-old him when he started the band would be proud of. How do you
absolutely.
feel about that? Because you're in a similar boat, right?
Yeah,
You started this project really young. You've
yeah,
had to evolve and grow a little bit, but where does this resonate with a young David?
yeah. That's honestly exactly the same way that I feel. Like truly, that is like I've said it before, like leading up to this album. Like this album is the album that like I always envisioned Bike Roots being when I first started, when I was like 16, 17, and I like could only play like two chords barely. I could barely sing. But in my head, I was like, I just gotta find the right people to like help me because I knew realistically I didn't have that musical capability yet. And I was like, I just have to play my silly little songs like in these silly little basements with all my friends, and then maybe I'll meet new friends who are able to, help me with this. And
Yeah.
that was kind of the mindset when I was young. And then obviously I joined like my local scene. I met people like Ben, I met people like Mikey, Con, and George, who are my backing band now, and we all became like best friends. We all played in a million other bands together. And then once it was time to make Bike Roots like a full project, I just asked my best friends, I was like, can you help me? And lo and behold, they did. And so I think, yeah, if my younger self could listen to this new record, Prairie, I think it is exactly what he wanted. And I think that's the coolest part about it all, truly.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too, because I think, especially in the whatever scene we want to call this, right? Alt
Yeah.
rock, emo, pop punk. I mean, like it's such a fucking broad stroke
Yeah.
anymore anyway. But, I think in this sidescape of rock music, often it's very easy to feel like you have to perform what other people are performing.
Yeah.
And, if I sound like State Champs, if I sound like the Wonder Years, like
Yeah.
that's where everything is. And to some extent, I think that's obviously true, right? Like if you want those fans, sure,
Yeah.
maybe. But
Yeah.
if you want your fans staying authentic and performing things that, a younger version of you can be proud of, I
Yeah.
think really resonates with people. And I think you've done a good job, like I said earlier, of doing that throughout so far. Talk about kind of building these tracks, because like you said, they're kind of the
Yeah.
the perfect representation of what bike routes is.
Yeah.
So what was it like, kind of writing the process and figuring out like your own benchmark, right? Like
Yeah.
it has to be
Absolutely.
this good for me to put it on this record.
Yeah. I think one thing that really helped shape these songs and this record and this whole process was every other time I recorded anything, whether it was a single, an EP, an album, uh, I would go and I would do it in a certain time frame, and after that time frame, it was out of my hands. It was going to mixing, mastering, or I was releasing it, uh, and it was just kind of like I had this window, and once that window was up, that's it. Where for this process, I had like writing trips. So I was able to go meet with my producer for like a week or 2 weeks, and then I'd leave and we'd sit with it and I'd write more on my own. And then I'd go back and we'd have another writing trip. And we had another like week or two, and we were just forming these songs that way, where during those writing trips, we went into it knowing, okay, if we don't finish it right now, there's no like pressure where we're like against the clock at all.
Yeah.
And so I think that gave me a lot of time to kind of fine tune and cherry pick in a way, because I'm definitely a perfectionist. I feel like where uh, even like the last EP or the last album before this, like once it was done and out of my hands, I'd feel amazing about it. But I would always be like, well, I wonder if we did it this way. And, I'd have these like looming thoughts, which granted, like I do believe like the EP and the album are like exactly what they should be. I wouldn't change
Right.
anything about them actually, but like, it was cool to have like, okay, we wrote a song, and then like 3 months go by, I'm like, oh, what if we did this to that song that like we thought was done? And having that experience and like ability to do that, I think really helped shape the overall form and shape of this album sonically and lyrically and melodically. And yeah, I think that is what really helped push these songs to, a new benchmark for me. And where once a song was at that point, I was like, oh, okay, we got it, and I don't
Yeah.
have any more notes. Like, and even now when I listen to those songs, I'm like, I have no notes. You know what I mean? There's nothing I would change. And I
Yeah.
think that is like the overall best experience and best outcome and best feeling with this record for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the interesting thing there to me is being able to find that comfort, that
Yeah.
to say like these are what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I think, to your point as an artist, right? Like there's a lot of times you sit with something and you're like, well, I could tweak this, or maybe we should have been tuned down. Maybe this
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what if we change the BPM? And it's like, yeah, you could constantly tweak it,
Yeah.
but does it actually help anything, or are
Yeah.
you stuck in this
Exactly.
kind of like almost like an imposter syndrome
Yeah.
situation where it's
Absolutely.
like, is this good enough?
Yeah.
How do you work yourself around that, I guess, is the way I want to put that, and
Yeah.
say like this is, and maybe it's just that you fell in love with the songs, right? Like,
Yeah.
but to say like, no, I'm done with this, it has
Yeah.
achieved everything I need it to achieve.
Yeah. Well, I think it does kind of also go back to when I was like 17 and I would first record Biker songs. I would go to my friend's house. We would sit in his bedroom. He would set up a microphone and I'd just play it and he'd hit stop recording and I'd be like, we're done. Like one take, like so I think I do still have that mentality I think it just takes a different shape where I'm like, I do think there's like glory in imperfection and in like the one take,
Yeah.
and so I do think even when I have those like, oh, what if we did this? I do also have that other half of my brain being like, doesn't even matter. Like it's whatever was put down first is the magic. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
is the song. Like you couldn't nitpick anything for a billion years. I could be like, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But like, I feel like once you do that, this purest form of that song is still like whatever happened first. So I
Yeah.
think I do still have that mindset now, having like a professional studio and like studio time and stuff like that. I still definitely go into it with like the childlike wonder of being like, whatever we're doing first is definitely like gonna be what it's supposed to be. And I do
Yeah.
think it's cool because even on this record, there's things that are on the finished, final, mastered song that we did on the writing trips, that we did not using professional equipment. Like I would just
Yeah.
be sitting there with a microphone, like singing the scratch vocal, and there's something so raw and honest in those vocals that we would try to emulate it during the recording days. And then we'd be like, this sounds good enough. Let's just use this. Like
Yeah.
specific, like I know, like the one song Ripley on the new record, the opening lines, it's just like these two stanzas. That is like the first time I ever sang those lines are from the like scratch vocal track, and we were literally like, just use those because they
Yeah.
have like these weird little inflections that like you can try and get when you do it again, but like it just doesn't feel the same. So I think there's a lot of moments like that that did end up making the final cut, which is also very cool and special, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that that's, I mean, like you said, you've played in other bands, you have friends in other bands. Do you think that that has to do with the fact that you're so comfortable in the knowledge of what Bike Roots is supposed to be to you, that you don't feel like there's any sort of need to like polish this or pander it to somebody
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of what Bike Roots has always been. I grew up playing shows with like inherently like emo or like Midwest emo type music, but I was just me and a guitar, and so I wasn't like a twinkly emo act, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that is just the scene that I grew up in and was like adopted into, I guess. And so now I still feel like we don't really have those twinkly emo riffs, but like those are my people, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like uh that's always been really cool and really special to me, and that's how I've met all my best friends in the world, and like all my best friends are a part of this scene with me. So I
Yeah.
think that's always been something that's been really special to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the tracks on the album.
Yeah.
I think I did this with your EP too. So, what was the track that you feel like you just said, first take, we got
Yeah.
it, everything's
Uh
good. I have no notes.
yeah. I would say um there's two, honestly. And because one's one of the singles. Shadows came out like vocally, I was like 20 minutes. I had the whole thing written and I was like, there it is. Like,
Yeah,
and it just flew out of me. And you know, again, at first I was like, when we first recorded, I was like, these might be like placeholder lyrics in places. And then by the I was like, nah, they're not. They're like, that's what it should be, you know? And yeah, that just happened very quickly. But in terms of writing completely, there it goes. I literally wrote like on an acoustic guitar in the room I was staying in. And like I went in the next day and we were like, oh, it's done. You know, like we just have to add drums to it and whatnot. But
yeah,
like structurally, we were like, oh, there it is. You know, like, yeah. So I think those two, Shadows and There It Goes, are the two that were like bang, 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 done, you know?
yeah. And then, what one caused you the most frustration? Was there one that you were just like, we got stuck on this hook and we just could
Yeah.
not get out of here?
There was I would say the song Replacements. It was one of those songs we wrote instrumentally in one of those first writing trips. We had it instrumentally done, like structured out, and I put placeholder melodies throughout the whole song that we loved, which is like a form of writing that when we do it, I don't love doing it that way, I'd say, because I feel like when I have to go write lyrics and put them to a melody, sometimes I can be like, I feel like I'm pigeonholed and I'm like, oh, wait. Uh, and so that was a song that it took me like most of the writing and recording process. That was like one of the last songs we recorded vocally where I was like, okay, I finally feel like it's perfect. You know, I don't
Yeah,
feel like I'm like I didn't feel like the melody was like taking away from the lyrics or the lyrics were taking away from the melody. And I felt like I was finally able to like say what I needed to say in the best way possible. And I felt like, yeah, it felt perfect finally. And because there was a lot of like writing and rewriting and like, okay, maybe not. And I feel like that was the one song that I got like stuck on, I'd say, for the longest amount of time. But yeah, now it's like one of my favorite songs on the record, I think, because of that, because of
yeah,
the it took so long and now it's perfect. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. And I think we talked about that on the last episode when we did your
Yeah,
EP and whatnot, where like, the more of the preference is to have lyrics and put music to lyrics rather
yeah,
than
yeah,
to feel shoehorned or pigeonholed
yeah,
into like, well, we wrote this melody and it's really cool. Now I have to figure out what the fuck to say.
yeah, exactly. And that's because for me, when I used to write, I would just like basically be talking and like then pick up a guitar and like strum two chords and then be like, oh, all right, here we go. You know, like I didn't really have like a structure to anything in the early days when I first wrote acoustic songs. There was no verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Like
Right.
it was just like verse, you know. And so
Yeah.
like, and I do think there's still like inherent uh coolness to that. I love
Yeah.
songs like that that are just like no structure at all. You know, like those. Honestly, like all my favorite songs are that way. So I do think that's really cool. But I do think when I was doing it, I was doing it in a way that wasn't cool. You
Right.
know. So yeah, I do think it's cool to have songs like that now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, very much because you write so vulnerably about real life and
Yeah,
your experiences and stuff. It's very much journal entry that happens to have music.
yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that's, yeah, and I know that's an intentionality thing for you, But for people that maybe aren't familiar with you, let's talk about that a little bit. That,
Yeah.
for the process that you go through, the stylings that you do, it's very much anchored in David's life, not
Yeah.
just Bike Road's life.
Yeah.
So what's that like to tell people, like, I'm kind of putting my heart on my sleeve a little bit and showing you the real struggles that I go through?
Yeah. I think that's like the most important part about writing music for me, honestly. And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like once I'm done writing a record or a project or an EP or whatever, like the second it's done and out of my hands, I'm ready to start going again because I have these new experiences and new thoughts. And I think that's always been the thing that Bike Roots was supposed to be, was just like almost like a journal entry for me where I was just writing whatever I felt like I had to write at that time. And I think it kind of embodies like the seasons of my life, and like
Mm-hmm.
even now I'm like I'm already ready for the next album and I already have these ideas and these concepts and these sound structures and like what I want to tackle on the next thing because this record took uh like a year and a half, 2 years to write and
Yeah.
record. I'm like I already have a year and a half, 2 years of new things that I'm like I'm ready to talk about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's always been like the goal of bike routes for me and like the 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 chase, I guess, and what I go after. And I think until I feel like I'm good and ready and I don't have anything else left to say, I think I want to keep writing and recording music forever. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that is, like I said, that's the chase for me. Like that next record that is not even nothing's written for it, nothing's on paper for it, but like that is already what I'm like, that's what I want. You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
record. And like the live shows and everything else comes next. Or not comes next, but comes with it. Because
Yeah.
like I said, also live shows are my favorite part about all of this at the same time. As
Yeah.
much as like writing the music and playing it and whatnot, yeah, getting to play it live, whether even if it's just for my friends and my family, that's
Mm-hmm.
the other part of the chase.
Yeah.
So I think those two things have always gone hand in hand for me.
Yeah. Um, in the best way possible, have you ever had a song that you played for friends or family and they were like, David, what the fuck is this? Like, what are we doing
Um,
here?
yeah, I think honestly, it's really funny. My parents have always been very supportive of music for me, honestly, which I know I'm like very lucky for and very
Yeah.
blessed about. But they've definitely seen, like I said, the seasons of bike routes. Like they came and saw me in like basements when I was 16, 17, and I couldn't sing, I couldn't play guitar. So I'm like, they've definitely seen the transformation of like the songs I've written. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, early on, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely would be like, check this out. And in my brain, I'd be like, this is awesome. And they'd be like, what? And even now, like certain songs, like it'll take them a minute to warm up to. I think, like even songs on the new record, like I'll like obviously give the songs to them first.
Yeah.
Like they've heard the new record, they have like little burnt CDs of like the masters on them that like because they can't use their phone and scroll through
Right.
files, like so
Yeah.
they like listen to it in their car like on their way to work every day, and then they come, they have like notes for me, but like where it's like, oh, like song 10 is like really really weird, like, and but then 2 months will go by and they'll be like, song 10 really grew on me, like,
Yeah.
so it's funny where like they definitely have first dibs on like listening to the songs, and they give me like they are not afraid to be like, that one's not that one's weird, or like
Yeah.
they I don't think they've ever been like, we hate that one, or like that one's bad, but like they definitely have been like, that's a weird one. So I think, yeah, there's definitely been some times like that with my friends and family, and in other bands. Obviously, we were all in other bands where I
Yeah.
there's bands I'm just like screaming in, and my parents are like, "No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Don't like that.
that's terrible," Yeah. So yeah, but I've always been fine with that. I'm open to criticism and what people think is good and bad, But I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, the songs would come out the same no matter what, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the reason I asked that question is to put the point out there for people that are afraid to start or
Absolutely.
whatever,
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
at times even the closest people to you aren't going to always resonate with everything that you
Yeah.
do, but
Absolutely.
something that you've carried through for your message as part of this project is like, life is moving forward, I have
Yeah.
to keep moving forward with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make that point, like I said, so that if anybody's listening to it and they're like, I just, I'm so scared to start,
Yeah.
my
No,
mom didn't
absolutely.
like that song or
Yeah.
whatever, it's like, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like that's another thing that I always try and like champion and say, even on stage and whatnot, is like, we I'm not a musician. Like whenever people are like, "Oh, you're a musician," I'm like, "No, I taught myself how to play guitar. I taught myself how to sing." Like those early days, like I knew that's what I wanted to do. I grew up going to shows, like so to be able to play shows, I was like, "This is awesome." Even if I sang like shit, played like shit, like
Yeah.
it was always just like, "Oh, I get to go out and do it." And I think the first time you do it, you kind of get this idea and this vision and this you realize that like anyone can do it. And even if, even if your parents hate it, even if your friends hate it, like if it's what you want to do and what you feel like you have to do, go do it and someone will connect with it. As long as you're being yourself and like, I don't know, honest, like in
Yeah.
a journal entry way, like that's how I think people want to listen to new music and want to connect to the music is that way. So yeah, I always say like start a band with your friends, play shows just for your friends. Like whatever it takes, like play shows in your friend's basement, like piss off the neighbors, like but
Right.
just like have fun, and like I think that's where it all starts and that keeping that idea alive even now when like we're playing like in Indianapolis or in
Hmm.
Los Angeles or Seattle or somewhere across the country from New Jersey, we still take the stage as those 17, 18, 19-year-old kids that first started. I think that still is who gets on stage and who like is singing. When I'm up there, I'm like, my younger self is the one who takes over,
Yeah.
because that's what he wanted and that's what he would have wanted. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. um I don't remember if we did this with the EP or not, but I always love when a new, album's coming out. Obviously we've talked about some of the songs, but what's the song, even if it's a released single already, what's the
Yeah.
song that you think people are going to gravitate to? And what's that kind of sleeper track that you're like, man, I really hope people catch on to this one?
Yeah. I think for me, everyone in my band, our favorite, I think, has slowly become There It Goes, which hasn't been released yet. But that one we've played it live already a few times, just like because it's so fun and easy for all of us to play and like get into. I think that is one that I think people well, that's what I mean. Hopefully they like, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like that's our favorite. So I think we're gonna play it no matter what, probably because we love it so much. But I think it does have a little something in there for everyone, and it could fit in to the emo playlist, but also like it could fit in anywhere.
Hmm.
And I think that's the cool part about that song, I guess. But in terms of a sleeper, I think song the second to the last song on the record. It's called Out on the Prairie, and it's a very different sounding bike route song. I'd say it's probably one of the most different sounding bike route songs, and I
Hmm.
think that is a sleeper because of that. I think it's a new interesting take on the sound, and it incorporates certain aspects and certain sounds that I've always loved in other music. So I think being able to incorporate it into bike routes was a very cool experience for me. And I think hopefully it's a cool experience for other people. But if not, that's fine. We
Yeah.
move on. But I love that song, and I think it's one of the songs I'm most excited to see how people react when they hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we know that live is the best way to listen to music, but
Yeah,
for this album, is there like obvious? I think it's obvious because I've had this conversation with so many artists. There's
yeah,
like the headphone test, the car test, the big
yeah.
speaker test. Where does this album fit for like the average listener? Where should they be? Like, where do you feel like this is? We hit it.
Um, Honestly, I always feel like wherever. I feel like everyone has their own like thing they do when like a new record comes out that they are so excited to listen to. I feel like everyone has those places they go to, whether it is headphones or driving or running or going to the gym or just lying in bed and looking at the ceiling. Like I feel like
Right.
everyone has something they do, and I feel like that whatever the best way is for you to take in a record, I feel like that's how you should listen to it. But I've always been like when a record comes out that I absolutely like stoked on, I feel like I get in my car at 12:01 and I just like drive around my hometown or like drive to
Yeah.
the beach or like drive and like get food and like just listen and drive. And that's how I've always listened to records for the first time. And I feel like that's how I take them in the best. I feel like in
Yeah.
other aspects, I don't like, I'll like miss like half of a song, like, cause I'll like zone out, but I feel like when I'm
Yeah.
driving, I'm always just like locked in. So that's how I've always listened to music for the first time, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
if that's what people are into, do that, but whatever works.
Yeah, for sure. That's a kind of an expensive way to do it nowadays with gas prices,
I
but
know. Yeah, so maybe do it like when you're already driving somewhere. Maybe
yeah.
don't listen just to listen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I used to be the same way, like, late night car drives,
yeah,
me and some friends jump
yeah,
in and
absolutely.
go play an album, and
Yeah,
um I'll still do it from time to time, but again, $4 or $5 $6 a gallon of gas.
yeah,
It's got to be an intentional
something.
trip a lot of
Yeah,
times
absolutely.
now.
You got to be headed somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah. um yeah, I think, again, the beauty of what you do is that authenticity, and being able to connect with people no matter where they're at in life. And I think, this is a good segue into the tour that's coming up, because you're getting ready to hit the road with Slow Joy, and I think
yeah,
they're a band that does very similar stuff. So what was it
yeah,
like when the talk started happening that, hey, like, this may be an opportunity for you?
yeah. It was awesome. I've like Slow Joy is one of those bands that like I discovered like through TikTok and Instagram, and I started listening to them. So that's what I mean. I feel like every tour, every opportunity we get are with bands that I listen to anyway, because I
Right.
grew up in this scene and in this genre. Like we haven't gotten a tour with a band where I'm like, I've never heard of that band before. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like every tour we get is with bands that I'm already in love with and that like I said, like I can't wait to watch every night. Like I'll get off stage on this whole tour and I'll get down in the crowd and I'll watch Slow Down every night. And like that is always a very cool opportunity and
Yeah.
cool tour and experience. So yeah, I cannot wait to get on the road with Slowjoy and like we haven't met them in person yet, but that's also another thing we love to do is like I feel like every time we go on a tour with a new band, by the end of it, we're like best friends, and we're like we have all these group chats with all these bands, and like every like once in a while, someone will text in there, and then like we all start talking again, and so it's very cool to have these like experiences that lead to like lifelong friendships, and
Yeah.
that's another very, very cool aspect of like touring, I guess, for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, hopefully that's happening to some degree with fans, right? Like,
Yeah,
because you're going to have people at these shows that are already Bike Routes fans and
yeah,
some that are Slow Joy fans, and like hopefully they start connecting too, because
yeah,
I think we've talked about it before, that the whole reason You Make the Scene exists is because of my belief that whether you're in the crowd, the sound engineer, the
yeah,
light guy, whatever, like, we all play a part in making the
absolutely.
scene
Yeah,
what it is. So it's really cool when you can see these crowds kind of start to mix a little bit, and then you get that feeling as the show builds where it's like, all right, people made friends tonight, people are
yeah,
healing together tonight, like,
yeah,
this is really cool.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's always cool now, especially when we play in places that we've played before, like seeing people come back and like people that like I always try and like it, it's hard, but I do try and lock in with names, and I feel like I remember a lot of names of a lot of people in a lot of different places, and it's always cool to see them again and be like, because like I said, like
Yeah.
it's kind of always crazy to me that anyone likes my band at all. So like to be able to like see people that like connect with it, keep coming back is a very special thing about touring for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm terrible with names, but I always remember faces. So I'll tell
yeah,
people that a lot of times. But
yeah,
like, it's really cool for me, even just being on the journalism side, right? Like I'm
Yeah,
obviously going to a ton of shows, and like there's so many people that I'm like, oh, I saw them at this show, or they were over at this
yeah,
venue 2 weeks ago. And I think it does build like there's like a weird safety in
yeah,
going to shows now
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
of like, I recognize some of these people. I can hang out even
absolutely.
if friends
Yeah,
don't show up.
yeah. And that's how like I've made some of my best friends in the world when I was like 15, 16, 17, going to shows by myself. I just see the same 20 people at all these shows, and now like obviously we were all awkward, but then through the years we're all like that's literally how I've met like some of my best friends. Like
Yeah.
I just went to my friend's wedding who I met when I was like 15, like at like a Wonder Years show, and we were just awkward kids then, and now it's like 10 years later, 12 years later, it's like, oh yeah, we've been doing this for like half of our lives together now. So
Yeah.
it's very cool.
It's wild, and I am very much an advocate of that. That
Yeah.
talk to the people at different
Yeah.
shows.
Absolutely.
It's weird sometimes, sure, but
Yeah.
like we're all there for the same reason. We all
Yeah.
love this music and whatever. So you've got some album release shows coming up.
Yeah.
Ironically, none in Jersey, unfortunately, but
I know. We'll get
uh,
there. We'll get there.
yeah, no, it happens. I think we've
Yeah.
talked about it before. It's just that Jersey scene has so like it's a great scene,
Yeah.
but the number of venues are much different, and like
Yeah.
what fits at the right time is very
Yeah.
hard to make it
And
work.
we've just kind of we grew up I grew up like 10 minutes over the bridge from Philly. So
Yeah,
Philly, South Jersey is kind of the home shows,
yeah,
now where it's uh yeah, I feel like especially in South Jersey, there's increasingly less venues to like play that aren't just like our friend's house or our friend's record
yeah,
store or like our friend's coffee shop. And so to get like a real venue going in South Jersey, I feel like is something that's been rough. But yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it happens.
yeah,
So those are going to be happening at the end of this month. The album drops. Remind me, the 26th.
26th. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So you've got those few shows, and then you're heading out on the road for basically halfway of July, all the way
yeah,
through half of August.
yeah,
And it's a looking at the list, it's pretty much the full country.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
no excuse for people not to show up.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna make you pick favorites, right? I'm gonna make you
All
do
right.
this.
Yeah.
Of the dates with Slow Joy, what towns are you excited to come back to or maybe experience for the first time?
Oh, um, Colorado, Denver, Colorado is one of the first places that truly like loved bike routes. I think Denver is one of our top cities. We've played Denver a few times, and every time we go, I'm blown away by the number of people who know the songs and know who we are. So I think Denver has always been a very, very amazing city for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do play in Jersey on that
Yes.
run. We play in Garwood, and it's at this place called Crossroads, and it's a place that I grew up going to see shows, but we haven't gotten to play shows there yet. So I think that is another one that we're like very, very stoked for. And um another one is Atlanta. Atlanta has always like been a very, very cool place for us. So I think Atlanta is another one I'm excited for. It's hard to pick favorites though, and
I know it is. That's why I made you
not
do it.
even in like a pandering way. Uh, Everywhere we play is like one of our favorite places. I feel like we have these like memories from whether it's from like a past tour or past like just passing through. Uh, yeah, I say it every night on stage. Like these songs, these us, we were never supposed to make it outside of New Jersey to begin with. So like anywhere outside of New Jersey is amazing that like we get to play to anyone. So yeah, it's hard to pick favorites because I can say with absolute certainty, like every show we've played outside of New Jersey, I've taken something in and like learned something new or met someone that like appreciates the music, and that's always a crazy experience, I feel like. And like headspace and mindset.
Mm.
So yeah, I always make sure I'm like that, and I'm not pandering. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not like, what's up, Denver? We love you. Like it is like, uh, yeah, everywhere is holds a special place in one way or another for us at this point, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I think it's worth calling out the Shadow of the City Festival.
Yeah.
So, in Jersey,
Yeah.
obviously. Uh, I'm obviously not super familiar with that festival specifically, but my
Yeah.
understanding is it's a pretty beloved thing in the
Yeah.
area, right? So,
Absolutely.
what's it like being asked to perform here?
Crazy. It's amazing, honestly. It is. Yeah, like I've gone 3 or 4 years now, and I've like Bleachers always had lines, and it's the first time I went, I wasn't fully familiar with Bleachers music, honestly, outside of like
The
three,
top
four, or
hits,
five
yeah.
songs. Yeah, those the hits. Uh, and so the first time I went, I sat and their set blew me away. And I only knew like 3 or 4 songs, and they played like 30 songs. You know, they play a
Yeah,
lot, but I've never been so just like my brain was on fire the whole set. It was amazing. And ever since then, I was like, oh, I'm going every year. You know, just
yeah,
all the opening bands are the bonus, but like Bleachers puts on such a cool show. But like they always also have amazing opening bands. Like one year it was like the Wonder Years in the Japanese House, and then another year it was like Joyce Manor and Barty Strange, and like very cool bands and acts that I like love anyway. So it just cultivates this amazing day of music and finding new bands and artists that I wasn't familiar with before. And it's outside, it's on the Asbury Park Boardwalk. Yeah, it's just a very cool day, I feel like. And so to like every year I would go and be like, man, if I could ever play this one year. And I never thought realistically that we would, or maybe I didn't think we would as soon as we are. You know, like I
right.
always thought, like, man, 10 years from now, like if we're still doing this, like 5 years from now. And so to be able to do it this year is mind boggling to me. And it's again like one of those things where I was going to go anyway this year, and I'm going to
Right.
go anyway next year and the year after that. So it's very cool to be a part of something like that and to be a part of things like that. It's always crazy to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sort of as we transition to the end here, again, going out on the road, I'm going to ask some of the fun tour questions, right?
Yeah.
So number one is kind of the controversial one. What's the gas station that you stop at? Is it a Bucky's? Is it a Wawa? Sheets? I know
So,
there's
yeah.
some regional damage here.
So we being in Wawa country, I go to Wawa every day of my life, you know, whether it's for gas or food. So when we're on the road, I feel like we don't go to Wawa because we have it so much. So
Yeah,
we love stopping at Sheets, and we love stopping at Bucky's, and we love stopping at like uh yeah, we love honestly one of our favorite places to stop late night is Love's, like the truck stop
I
gas
love
station.
loves.
We love Love's. Love's is like where we go after literally every show. We
Yeah,
unless we go to we're big Taco Bell people, I will say. We go to Taco
yeah.
Bell a lot.
Let's get a
But
sponsorship going.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, but for all other needs, like we are such like where's the loves? Like for bathrooms, they have like the
Yeah,
clean bathrooms, easy bathrooms, they have all the drinks in the world, and there's usually Wendy's or Arby's or something connected to it where it's like if you do need food, you can go there, or you could just get snacks, pile up on snacks. So we're big loves people, I would say,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I'm very much the same way. Obviously, in
Yeah,
Indiana, Loves is one of the more popular ones anyway. But like,
yeah,
I have intentionally been like on the interstate, and I'm like,
yeah,
I could stop at that TA or
yeah, yeah,
this,
yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, but there's a Loves like three
There's
more
a
miles up the
yeah.
road.
I
I'm
got
going
like
there.
10 more minutes. I'm going to Loves. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're big Loves people. Yeah,
yeah, and to your point too, like obviously the true restaurant that's attached is usually pretty good, but
yeah,
honestly, their food is
yeah.
not bad food.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel safe grabbing tacos from a
yeah,
Loves.
yeah, yeah. Or like the chicken sandwiches,
Yeah,
or the yeah, yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Um, when traveling,
yeah.
obviously, again, all the different cities, is there a style of food other than like Taco Bell? Like when you go to you're going to be in Dallas. Do you have to go get barbecue? You know,
Yeah.
like, is there something that like you're kind of longing for to be back on the road so you can get?
I will say we usually we're like regional food, like down south barbecue. We're always excited to get, or like, uh, uh, yeah, or like Mexican food. Well, the like Southern
Yeah.
California, like New Mexico and stuff. Like we love Mexican food. That's honestly, I feel like even that's what we eat at least. I would always say every day we're going to a taco truck or going to like somewhere like that's usually that is like our go-to. I would say we're all very big Mexican food people, but yeah, and other than that, we honestly have a list of our favorite coffee shops. We're big coffee people. Every morning we have to wake up and
Yeah.
get like good coffee. We try and find like a nice local shop. Uh and so we've made a list actually of like when we find a place that we love, because we end up going through the same areas pretty often, we like we'll write it down and we'll go back. We've gone back to the same coffee shops like 3 or 4 times now where we're
Yeah.
like, we know it's good, we know we're gonna love it. Like, so let's just like if it's not broken, let's don't fix it. So yeah.
For sure. Is there one that sticks out in your mind off the top of your head right now that you're like, oh, we're definitely hitting this one?
There is in it is a chain, but it's only in like Dallas or Austin, Houston. It's called Summer Moon, and it's a coffee place, but it is a chain, but it's only in like
But it's
Texas. And
regional enough. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And whenever we're there, we're always like Summer Moon. Like that is one that we're always very excited to get to. So that's a good one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last one for this will be tour snacks. Like what's got to be in the van for you guys while you're on the road?
Um, we're big. Hmm. We're honestly we're big like beverage people. I feel like Gator Lights and like Red Bulls and stuff like that is like usually the go-to. And we all have our own niche little snacks, I guess, of protein bars and chips and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I feel like we're always like packing beverages, and like that's what's like rolling around in the van is like cases of whether it's cases of water or Red Bull or yerba mates or like
Right.
anything, like I feel like we're very like beverage centric in the van, where it's snacks can be anything. We'll eat anything, There's not
Yeah.
really a like go to like we need 10 pounds of Cheez-Its right now, like because I think
You
we
can get
all
that
have
at
our
Love's though.
yeah, we
They
all
get they
have
have a
our own.
monster bag.
I know, but and that's what I mean. We all have our own like snacks, but I feel like beverages we're all on the same page where we're like, we need Gator Lights, we need Red Bull, we need,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. That's really everything I've got for you, man.
cool,
Always enjoy talking to you. Looking
yeah,
forward to Indianapolis on the 31st of July. So
hell yeah,
we'll be out there for sure.
awesome. Well, I'll see you
Um,
there. That'll be sick.
yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah,
So, as we transition for the tie off of the episode,
yeah,
my spiel here. So I'll give you the floor.
yeah,
What do people need to know about the album? What do they need to know about tour? What do
yeah,
you just want to say to the fan base that have accumulated over the last year and a half?
yeah. I would say new record is out June 26th. We'll be on tour a lot of the summer. And we'll be on tour in the fall, hopefully. We just want to play shows, especially with the new record coming out. We get to play a whole new set. We've been playing the same set for a year and a half, 2 years now. So it's nice to freshen it up with like 11 new songs to choose from. So I will say if you've seen Bike Routes before, it's not going to be the same Bike Routes you see now, I'd say. It'll be a new show. And yeah, we're just very excited to keep on keeping on, keep rocking. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Like I said, I'm stoked for you. It's been really cool to catch up, and I'm excited to check out this new album because I think
Yeah.
I've said it a few times in here. Your authenticity is what drew me into your music, and it's so cool to have an artist that is so authentic to themselves that, like you said, looking back,
Yeah.
16-year-old David is going, yeah, that's what I wanted to fucking do,
Yeah.
and it's really
Absolutely.
cool to see.
Cool. Well, thank you. That means the world to me and to
Yeah,
16-year-old David. So
right.
thank you. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll keep you posted on when this goes live and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you out on the road, and we'll stay
Awesome.
in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you there. And thank you again for moving around and going
No
crazy.
problem at
This is
all.
awesome, though. Seriously.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right. You too.